Yo, what's up, man? Devin. Title is Guy, Love God. Echo, what's up? Yo, the man, it's crazy right now. These markets up 7%, man. When have we seen SPY do that? But hey, man, this is the confirmation I think we needed for this macro market reversal that we're seeing right now. I think honestly, with this 7% day, I would not be surprised if we get if we go back to the 600s here within the next month. I mean, this is like a classic fake out here. This whole like tariff thing that's been going on. Like this is right here, man. Just a classic fake out. Um, that this catalyst thing, man. You got to tie a catalyst to these fake outs, man. And I think it's exactly what we're getting right now. A nice little reversal. So, yeah, man, pretty cool stuff. I do want to pretty much cover a wide range and list of stocks, and kind of do that here, moving forward. One of the things that I did here on the Discord, um, I went ahead and just kind of paused the Discord, um, as far as like going live every day and sending out trade ideas and stuff. I'm taking a little break on that, but I still plan on going live here occasionally, and yeah, just providing some analysis. I'm working on some projects right now that um, I'm excited to introduce in the future. So I'll be talking about that in the coming months. But right now, we'll be doing some analysis and yeah, man, covering again a large list of stocks. So if you guys have any requests or any questions, drop it in the chat for sure. Um, okay, so with this intraday market little pump, 8%, man, 8%. And honestly, like from the bottom here, like the starting of the market trading was at 492. It's actually gone up 9%. So yeah, 9, and then from the bottom, 10%. That is crazy. I mean, this thing is behaving like a meme stock, and this is, I mean, we're talking about SPY here, guys. That's absolutely crazy. The last time that we saw a spike like this, I mean, okay, so let's go on the 4 hour and see. Like, I doubt we're gonna see that. Like, I doubt we're gonna see a spike like this in the in the entirety of the. Like, I'm surprised that there hasn't been a. I'm not even sure what the threshold is for them to like halt, like SPY. But okay, so the last time we saw that was here in 2020. Uh, you saw the market pump March 13th, 9%, and then it fell back down. That'd be absolutely crazy if we fell back down after this. But I think I personally think that the market conditions right now and this is just like one massive fake out. Also, right here, we didn't have the same volatility as we came down. There's a lot more choppiness happening here. Like we pretty much this took probably twice as much as like the COVID correction. So this is a very slow, in my opinion, a very compared to 2020, it's a very slow dump. Um, but yeah, guys, that was the last time we saw that 10% rally, and before that, even I don't even think like 2008. Let's see, 2000. Okay, so in 2008 we did have that. We had quite a bit actually. We had a rally go all the way up 15%, and then back down, and then 2000. I guess not 2000, so just 2008. But look at this, man. In 2008, we had already been going down for quite some time. It was in distribution for a year before. So the markets are, we haven't even reached a level of support yet, technically. Um, it's all the way down here, like barely touched it at 480. But technically, this would be a zone considered a support zone, and if it's not hitting it, we have a massive reversal here. It's because there's a lot of long positions waiting to be open there. Kind of just makes sense. Uh, Joe, Nana, how's it going? All right, let's go in here. Stocks. Yeah, man, a lot of these stocks here. So we got like Peloton's up 20%. For Peloton, we've been tracking also some like potential upside here for a little bit on this guy. Um, there's a lot of fractals that we tracked here on Peloton. Let's see what else. I mean, everything's pumping, even like Tesla, dude. And with Tesla, we've been tracking this the Mara sequence here for a while, man. Like this right here, to me, is a low. It's a low zone because also we have the third retest trend line. I always talk about this on the Discord, but this third trend line here either like makes or breaks a chart on the macro because I think a lot of people, some of the newer traders, they just kind of, they trade the trend lines. And I'm saying if you know how to trade trend lines, it's a good strategy, but you got to know where the fake outs are and where the missed opportunities are, right? So this right here would be a missed opportunity for anybody that is waiting for the third retest. And if you're waiting for the third retest, it's very unlikely that it will hold. Very rarely do we see a third retest hold. If anything, you see a fake out, right? And that would be the other bullish case scenario, is that there is a fake out on this. But to me, it looks like, based on this fractal, if we pull it back up here, it's got the same thing going on. We have the third retest, does not come close to it. So that right there would be a missed opportunity here for anybody, again, waiting for that third test. And yeah, man, it's following it so far. I think with Tesla, we will get a continuation here. I think the markets are not done pumping. One of the things I had mentioned a few months ago was that this actually with SPY, we've been tracking. So the spots indicator here, for those that have this, and also CopyPat is one of the indicators on the list that I offer. The CopyPat indicator had already projected that the markets were going to do something like this, and it had a curve that looked pretty much like this, right? It's tracking a curve, just like spots, and this curve goes all the way into that 2027 area. So this right here is like a pretty much a parallel channel that's in the making right now. Parallel channel that will last a while. I think this is where the markets are you're going to see a lot of these small and mid cap stocks start to pump while the markets get ready to essentially either enter a long-term distribution pattern or essentially one last pump here before the markets kind of take a little correction. And who knows, guys? At that point, you can't really predict too much because anything could happen. Any external factor that goes around in the world could really mess this algorithm up. But I think what's happening right now, again, is just a massive fake out, very similar to 2020. And like I said, kind of expected because the markets had been pumping for quite a bit of time. I mean, look, dude, the markets went up from 340 right here all the way up to 612. This is 2 years, man. The average like if you look back at the average, it's like 12 to 15%. that you get on a return here. So it kind of makes sense that these guys flush it, right? Flush it down to 38% from the previous low. It's still up a lot, man. Anybody who had longs right here is still up 37%, which is still a lot, man. It is still a lot. So, and now you're back up to that mid mark here at 60%. So, yeah, guys, parallel channel here, 2 years. I think I still have that here to show you guys. Let's see. I don't want to go on that. Where is my... trying to look for my indicators here. Here we go. And copy pat. So this is what I use here for this is the copy pat projection. Again, you see what the market, this indicator was posted in 2022. You see the low and you see that projection. Again, this indicator here is going to basically formulate and project a pattern based on historical values. This uses the fast Fourier transform like we've talked about before. That's a very important indicator into like how these markets trade, right? Cyclical markets. So you see that average, which yes, this goes up to the 550, but we are taking an average here, and we know that the markets went up to the 600 range. But if you take a look at what's happening in this what we think is going to be distribution, like this is from February to, it seems like potentially August of 2026, and I don't have any more projection, right? This formulated, I think, like 150 bars of a projection on the weekly chart. So anything after that, I don't have that data, but pretty much what I can see here is that it's trading sideways. So I do agree with that. So far, it's been very accurate. Here's the average, 2026, 2027, trading sideways. Trading sideways, man. Like that. Choppy markets. Where have I been? Dude, I've been doing analysis, man. Been doing analysis. Just like I said, I don't go live as often anymore. I'm working on some projects. I hope to have some of this stuff out for you guys to try out and see. Like I've been working on the Plotzy program, the scanner, basically what CopyPat is doing, but much more detailed and much more extensive because it uses other calculations to find patterns and stuff. So been working on that. And yeah, man, been working on some bots and stuff, some trading bots. I do want to have all that out. Yeah, man, it's time consuming for sure, but I've been doing it, man. I do like to come in and update. Like I said, the markets are very slow. For example, like one of the things that I've been, saying about AMC is the algorithm here, the amount of liquidity it has been able to like suppress the price action is pretty incredible. And that's one of the things that you guys have known right from the start, is that AMC tends to behave that way because it's highly manipulated. These guys just have a lot of liquidity to be able to do it. But the truth of the matter is that at some point, if you check these very important things just with any stock, is that they're not a bankruptcy stock, right? that there's no reason why it should be trading at the levels that it is. So this is a very important thing. And the other thing has to do with the administration. And one of the things that we've been tracking here is that AMC, for one, doesn't come up with like another reverse split. The dilution thing is a little bit differently, but the reverse split kind of naturally does that because it incentivizes these bigger companies to short the stock. So that's already a big issue. But so far, guys, it's just a very slow cycle. And like I said, we keep tracking these windows, these POIs, and these volatility windows. But at the end of the day, it's all going to it's going to come down to when the algorithm decides to release the volume. And like I said, we're tracking these POIs, but if these guys want to take more time to trade it sideways, very slowly trade it, because guys, I mean, April 2024 is the last time we saw a low on AMC. So it's already been an entire year where this thing has pumped all the way up and all the way back down. So if this is going to turn around, I mean, you're definitely going to have to see that happening in the short term, or else you start to get into this, more distribution type of a setup, and then yeah, man, you have to look at the administration, see what they end up doing with the stock there. But those are the main things here to watch for. The good thing is that the markets are turning around, right? Because if this is the low, which it seems to be since the markets are up 8%, if this is the low on SPY, then I think we could say that this is also going to be the low on a lot of these other stocks, and we're going to start to get this pump here finally on a lot of these heavily shorted stocks like AMC and a few others, right, that we've been tracking. So now, guys, you got to be realistic with everything here. One of the things that I've learned here in the markets is that tracking these stocks are definitely an opportunity, but we've known what the administration has done already before, and they definitely have diluted the investor a lot. And I'm talking ever since 2021, right? They have diluted the investor a lot, and that's one of the things that that with AMC specifically, I think there's a lot of opportunity when these volatility zones come up for instruments like options, right? Because you're kind of playing that volatility, that game, and I think with that, there's definitely more potential, more opportunity, but also a lot more risk if you don't see any volatility as well. So, with them diluting investors, it's a lot of people that end up having a lot of these stock shares. And they're just kind of waiting for this thing to pump. But if these guys are just going to keep diluting, then that doesn't really become a profitable thing. So just watching out for those kinds of things are very crucial, very important. And, understanding that nobody is really on your side. The administration or these corporations aren't on your side. And you got to treat everything, yeah, man, as skeptical as you can possible. As always, guys, not financial advice, but this is just my perspective in these markets. Okay, so I'll show you guys a few things that I've been tracking on AMC. So I have been tracking a lot of stocks and cryptocurrencies, also with these patterns. And yes, there are a lot that had this the zone that we're tracking right now. There were a lot that came down here, but most of them actually stopped here at the 330 range. Like this was going to be pretty much a low here for AMC. So I'll show you guys, for example, this one here. This is Doge. Now I don't like to overlay these patterns because a lot of people will take screenshots and they'll be like, "Hey man, this guy's calling for 26," but I'm not doing that. All I do when I come up with these patterns is whenever you see a massive spike, is usually just something we consider a volatility zone, which is where we might experience volatility. And like I said, man, AMC, the threshold has changed from the previous POIs we've been tracking. Before it was 70%, now it's 100. because the stock is obviously at lower prices, it's more likely to experience a higher push, um, threshold push. So 100% would be considered a POI, and that would be about $5-6 for that to suffice. So I'm not calling for this again. I'm going to take that out here, but we also were tracking, for example, this stock right here. Or this is actually this is GME, right? This is GME before it pumped in May of last year. And you can see it does climb all the way down to these new lows before it makes a push to the upside. We were also tracking some of these other cryptos like Pepe. And this one originally it was right here. You can see that it starts to flip right around the $3 range is where it starts to climb down. But a lot of these guys, there's just many fake outs, many fake outs before we actually see them, turn around and start pushing up. Okay. Also, another thing is the Sava. The Sava sequence here has been also very accurate. It's the only other one that I could see. So right here, lining it up as best as I can here with these POIs. This one, we're not really tracking the structure as much as we are the levels. And so the timing here is kind of out of whack, man. But if you were tracking every single high and every single low, this is actually the most accurate representation here of what AMC could be doing. So a lot of these phases are either sped up or they're slowed down in the sequence. So, I mean, here, we can like split it up. I'll show you guys how this works. So we've got a high and we've got a low right here on AMC, right? Very similar to this. We've got a high and a low. So a lot of these sections here, I can already cross off. I know that what happened here up to the bottom is right in this range. You could see that this is right here, like it's the little dead cat setup that Sava had, right? You guys can see that. See, at first, might seem like the algorithm slowed things down a little bit over here, and then sped them up very quickly. When it sped them up, you can see the price goes all the way down and then creates this low. Right here, this would be our projector. That part is also sped up on the AMC algorithm. Sped up. This arc is slowed down on the AMC arc. Slowed down a lot. Right here, all the way down. The good thing is that it does track, right? It tracks the levels to a T. So on the bright side, if the algorithm here is just waiting for one last dump, this sequence is one of the ones that is telling us that the $2 range could potentially be that zone if it's going to follow through. And what might happen here next is that if it ends up doing that, right, if we end up going down to 2, the algorithm might also speed this entire portion up. Like it might do something like this where it goes down or even stays in this range. It doesn't have to go all the way down. Remember, a lot of these levels are mixed in the sequence. Like this low could also be the low in April of last year. And then this could be this current low here if the market holds and everything, right? This could be considered that low. So if it starts to pump, guys, I would just take this entire section here, and I personally think that it would be a lot quicker. This is where we take the initial drop, the main drop that took place. Okay. And if this is one of the patterns that has a very similar POI range. Like if we come down here, go on the daily, I'll show you guys where this pattern is. It's all the way down here. I already have it set up. You see from the drop to the next high, right? It takes 600 days, so roughly 600 days from here. So not quite the drop, but a little bit prior to that drop. So in this case, we've got basically the pump before the drop is what we're going to be tracking here as the starting point in the sequence. And you can see that's right around here. So about 600 days from that point, which was July 25th. So 600 days would be right here. You can see that we're a little bit past that. So and again, the starting points. This is one of the parts here in this whole analysis thing that becomes a little bit difficult to understand, because you need to know what the administration has been doing, if the option chain is still active, or if options have been reset. All that stuff matters in these starting points. And what I can tell off of this sequence is that AMC had its option chain reset, I believe, August 2023, right around this range was when it had the option chain reset. So that automatically kind of becomes a new cycle here. And why these POIs tend to change also it has to do with options, right? Everything has to do with options. Now with Sava, at the time, if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe there were any options here. I could be wrong about this, but you could also take the starting point here to be January 18th. This is also where Leaps reset. So this is actually the starting point. You take it all the way up to the next high, 725 days. The algorithm here could have slowed down for AMC, or sped up, I'm sorry, for AMC. So 725 days now becomes July. Okay, and then that becomes basically your high, right? Here. Right around there. And then that is our new sequence. Okay. So again, guys, you have to look at the sections that are being sped up, and I'm going to clone this so I could show you guys what that might look like. But if this is actually the AMC low, or if it's not, right, and we go all the way back down again, I think what this next section would look like is something like this. So here's your projector and then your POI right there. So it might essentially go to the $6 range first and then start pumping in July. And if you zoom out of the chart, you get a classic double bottom. Classic double bottom, right? I mean, these look pretty similar, pretty symmetrical also. You got this would be a redistribution before it declines one last time. And then this would be a reaccumulation from this entire, I mean, technically, this is all accumulation until it crosses the $12 range, but micro reaccumulation and then advancing, right? Yeah, pretty cool stuff, guys. And like I said, these things you need to check off, and that's the kind of the annoying thing about AMC is that it's been very slow, man. And it's not like you can just you can't say the stock is doomed or anything at these levels because it hasn't even crossed the previous low. But even if it does cross it, a lot of these reference patterns, what they're good at is telling us if a sequence is going to if it still has the possibility of following through and completing the sequence. And the way I would know that is by basically putting a level at which it cannot be holding for more than X amount of days In this case, if AMC did cross the $2 range, as you can see from the sequence here, if it did cross the $2 range, it would have to spring up very, very quickly. The more time it trades down in the $2 range, the more likely the sequence is to stop tracking and then also potentially even experience an inverse POI, which at that point would be very bearish, right? So all those things you got to take into account, man, with the cycle thing. All those things matter. And it's one of the things that I preach, man. I'm not about, I'm about looking at opportunities, but also being very very understanding about the risks involved with stocks like AMC, which whenever the stock is dropping and it's doing some crazy things, kind of have to hold back a little bit and just wait until the opportunity comes back. And this is one of those things that at least AMC has taught me, man, is to hold back a little bit and just be patient. And if the opportunity is there, it'll come. If it's not, you got to let it go, man. It's typically the way the market functions and works. There's been a lot of stocks in the market that have delisted, right? A lot of stocks in the market that have just not done what a lot of investors expect them to do, and that's fine. But you gotta have a common ground here and good risk tolerance for it, for sure. Okay, coos. Alrighty, guys, let's go back here to some other things. One other thing I wanted to cover here was crypto. Crypto. So specifically, Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is doing things that are good, man, that could finally make this thing turn around. All right, so what have we been tracking here for the last 2 years? We've been tracking the gold sequence, and you guys know that the one thing about this sequence is we're tracking an average, right? We're tracking a average, and we know that there are gaps in this pattern here, in this correlation. On these gaps, what we've noticed is that they last quite a bit of time. Like, the last gap we had, pretty significant gap here, was about 120 days, so 2 cycles. And same thing right here. You can kind of see the same thing going on. You have a gap. This one only lasts about half the time. But now we have another gap developing, and this one is pretty significant because you could see it's a pretty big gap. So I already have a deadline here for this gap to close off. I know that it started sometime in February. The only way this pattern is going to continue to be a valid one is if it gets closer and closer to the average here. So for this to hold, Bitcoin does have to be trading back at 100,000 probably by May, which is next month. Because again, you don't see these gaps really in this entire sequence, and in trying to line everything up as best as I can here with these patterns, even on the weekly chart. So there's a gap here, this one 91 days, and then there's another gap right here, another 140 days. So again, I've set that 120 day mark. Could potentially go up until June, but I think this could be that low for Bitcoin. We were tracking the 70 to 75K range for a low, and it just briefly triggered that here this week. So yeah, man, if Bitcoin turns around here, I think that's going to do a lot for not only the crypto markets, but also the stock market too, because where is all this liquidity going to go, right? kind of get the next cycle here. This one I believe is a 5-year, so a little bit different from like the traditional 4-year cycle on crypto. This one would run all the way up to 2026, I believe, is going to be the high, and the last high we had was 2021. So 2021, yeah, it's a 5-year cycle. Pretty awesome stuff. Something else that I was going to say about crypto, guys, is so Ethereum is one of the things that is harder about this cycle is that just like the entire Ethereum space, like all these Ethereum cryptos too, aren't doing so hot when compared to Bitcoin. We use all-in-one for this, which these are, again, some of the indicators that we use here in to compare 20. Actually, we use the indicator compares 20, and I use it for like anything happening like intraday and stuff. But this one here is going to show us the correlation between two, and this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to pull a Bitcoin so you guys can see. We're going to do Bitcoin finance, and here it is, right? So we know that okay, so we know the last time that there was this much divergence between two was actually in 2020, which is exactly what the markets are doing right now. We have this like massive fake out in the markets. This is just I mean, honestly, it's almost the same size. If you take a look at it from the high here, it's about 273 days. This one here is slightly bigger. Maybe it's about 150 days larger of a sequence. I mean, we are trading at higher levels, guys, so it naturally is going to move a little bit slower. But if this is true again, we know that the cycles here, the stock market and crypto, started trading very closely together since November. I mean, you guys have known this too. The guys that have been here on the Discord, we know that tracking the cycle in 2021, a lot of these cycles just kind of merged and we're trading 1-to-1. There's not a lot of volatility right here. But now, this liquidity is just, we're trading back and forth here. It's almost like they're transferring liquidity over and over again on these short-term, time frames. And that's why we're seeing this large gap here. So if this is a low, I think it's going to look really good on Ethereum because we might get a nice pump. We also crossed this trend line here. So this already is in a fake out territory. If it's going to fake out, you're going to see this pump up very quickly. Yeah, man, who knows where it would go from here. The other scenario is that, and this is one that is kind of like an interesting theory here on like what the crypto space might do, but what if, now we have XRP kind of coming in, to take the spot here of Ethereum, but what if something happens in this network, the Ethereum network, and maybe this is actually entering a distribution, like a macro distribution, where it might still pump while Bitcoin and some of these other cryptos start pumping, but it might actually be in distribution. So it might pump, and then once it reaches the high, once Bitcoin reaches its high, it might actually end up coming back down. So this one is really all about tracking these crucial levels and how quickly it does it. That's what's going to either make or break the cycle here. But what we know is that the last time it did that, right, it also did. So it looks like it was trading at 240% all the way down to -60. And you can see right here, it's at -56 from its previous high at 150. So yeah, man, slightly different in that, I mean, there's actually surprisingly less volatility right here. Uh, Also, it's a lot more spread out, so not as it's more conservative than what happened in 2019. But the pump here is what's significant, and I think it's what's going to yeah, tell us, man, if Ethereum is distributing or not, or pumping. All right, Echo, using those indicators, man. Awesome, awesome. Glad it helps, man. And the ones that I love the most in using anything like short term would be like Volt, or also spots. Obviously, all in one is a big one here in kind of spotting these shorter term pumps and stuff. So pretty amazing stuff, man. Okay. Wonder if there's the only thing that's like down today is UVXY down 30%. That's great. Okay, cool. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Guys, so like I said, I'm trying to do this more. You're going to see more of this, the live streams just coming on here on YouTube. Like I said, I paused the Discord, the live streams on there and the trades. So the Discord is actually open to anybody who wants to come in, and I've got the chat open and everything like that. I'm working on a project, a larger project to have out this year. So I am going to be back for those that are curious about that. We'll be back on there and doing everything again. Just again taking some time to focus on these projects and get them done, to be able to have those available for you guys to use. Alrighty. So I hope this video was informative and helpful and answered questions. And like I said, DM me or anything if you guys would like to come in on the Discord. And yeah, I plan on doing this again soon. So we'll see you guys then. Take care.